It's never boring in the world of GLP-1s. Yesterday, Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical behemoth responsible for Zepbound and Mounjaro, revealed through its CEO David Ricks during an interview in Paris that the current shortage of Zepbound may soon end. Ricks, speaking with Bloomberg News, spontaneously mentioned, "We plan to exit that process very soon. I think actually today or tomorrow." No announcement so far, so we'll see what happens. This announcement brings both relief and unease for patients who have been struggling to obtain the life-changing medications. Hello, I'm Christopher Durham, and this is the Downsize, where my wife Lorraine and I share our GLP-1 weight loss adventure, news, interviews, and stories like this with a healthy dose of opinion. Since September of 2023, I have lost 75 pounds on a combination of compounded tirzepatide, Zepbound, and Mounjaro. The last two largely changed because of the shortages brought on by the manufacturer Eli Lilly. If you haven't already, please take a moment to like and subscribe and make sure you get notified every time we publish something like this. The unexpected declaration came just a week after Viking Therapeutics announced it was moving its competitive drug VK2735 into final phase testing following a meeting with the FDA. Unsurprisingly, Eli Lilly's shares dropped 4.5% following the news. If that wasn't enough, Eli Lilly should have been feeling the heat as July began with President Biden and Senator Sanders calling on Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly to reduce the prices of their weight loss and diabetes drugs in a jointly authored opinion piece published in USA Today. The pair's letter came a few months after Sanders, chairman of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, or HELP Committee, launched an investigation into the outrageously high prices Novo Nordisk is charging for Ozempic and Wegovy in the United States. The timing of this statement from Eli Lilly's CEO is particularly interesting given that Eli Lilly's Q2 earnings call is scheduled for next week on August 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. I'm a bit skeptical of the whole thing, and we will be watching it closely, so stay tuned as we report. I'll put a link to the call if you'd like to listen to it yourself in the description. For months, we've all faced significant challenges securing our prescriptions since the FDA officially listed Zepbound and its diabetes counterpart, Mounjaro, as being in short supply. Mounjaro and Zepbound 10 mg and 15 mg are both still currently listed on the FDA's site as having limited availability through July 2024. Obviously, the month just ended. This shortage has led to the rapid rise of compounded versions of these drugs, creating a billion-dollar industry almost overnight. Now, let's be clear, compounding didn't spring up just to create compounded tirzepatide and semaglutide. It's been around for decades, if not hundreds of years, and has filled a vital need in America's healthcare system. However, these compounded versions could be at risk, with the shortage potentially ending. The market is already reacting, with telehealth providers selling these alternatives, seeing their stock prices drop. Hims of Hims and Hers, for example, saw their stock plummet by as much as 16% following the statement. So let's talk for a minute about how this all works. How does a drug actually get on the FDA shortage list? Well, according to the FDA's website, and I'll read this directly, I'll put a link to it in the description as well. Drug shortages can occur for many reasons, including manufacturing and quality problems, delays and discontinuations. Manufacturers provide the FDA with most drug shortage information, and the agency works closely with them to prevent or reduce the impact of shortages. When a shortage is listed current on the drug shortage database, the FDA is aware of the supply situation and is working with the manufacturers on efforts to mitigate the supply disruption. The FDA also continues to work with manufacturers on shortage prevention efforts for drugs not yet listed on the drug shortage database. So, in short, a lot of words from the FDA. The manufacturer self-reports their shortage, which is key to understanding the dynamics of this evolving situation. So Eli Lilly says to the FDA, hey, we're running short on XYZ drug, XYZ dose, and it gets posted to the site. There's no active checking. The FDA doesn't send out FDA investigators to go make sure there's stuff on shelf. It's just not happening. This is all self-reported. What exactly will the impact be on compounded GLP-1 medications? Well, as you can imagine, the full effect remains to be seen, and there's a lot of speculation going around From the world is coming to an end to wait and see to it's no big deal. We kind of fall somewhere in the middle. The potential end of the shortage could upend the compounding of GLP-1 medications like tirzepatide. There's no question about that. Gail Bormel, acting director of the FDA's Office of Compounding, has indicated in prior interviews that larger compounding organizations or 503B pharmacies will no longer be able to produce and distribute compounded versions of these medications once the shortage ends. These facilities, which can manufacture large batches for sale to healthcare facilities, must cease production. 503Bs are those bigger compounding pharmacies that are basically reselling it to other folks' hospitals and so forth. The rules are slightly different for 503A compounding pharmacies, which make medications based on specific prescriptions for individual patients. These pharmacies may continue to produce compounded versions under certain conditions, such as when a prescriber determines that the compound formula offers a clinical difference that is not available commercially. This is where you see some telehealth providers and compounding pharmacies adding things like B12 to make it a slightly different formula, using different bases, you name it, kind of shifting this around to provide a different need for a different patient. 503A pharmacies should be able to continue under FDA regulation. What does this mean for compounded tirzepatide? Well, it's a good question. So once the FDA shortage list is updated to reflect the end of the shortage, 503B pharmacies will no longer be able to compound tirzepatide for sale. There will be a short 60-day grace period where existing orders and process may still be fulfilled. However, this grace period only applies to 503B facilities. There is no similar provision for 503A pharmacies, which means they may continue compounding. 503A compounding pharmacies include very popular pharmacies that a lot of the telehealth providers use: Red Rock, Hallandale, Akita, Empower, and there's many more of them out there. There may be no danger whatsoever that you're going to lose your medication. We'll have to wait and see. What can we as GLP-1 patients do? Well, make some noise. Report any shortages you encounter to the FDA. Go to their website. I'll leave a link in the description and you can report it there. Share your experiences on social media. Make noise. Use the hashtag Zepbound shortage, please. Let everybody know. Let's get some buzz going. Number 2, stay stocked up. Fill your prescriptions as soon as possible to avoid any potential gaps in your treatment. Often it's easy to get a little bit ahead. There may be an extra dose in the bottle, so do the best you can there. Number 3, make sure you're using a 503A compounding pharmacy. They should be able to continue to prescribe for you. The next point I would make is make sure to advocate for healthcare reform. Corporate greed, PBMs, and diminishing healthcare access must be addressed if we're going to successfully combat the disease of obesity, both personally and societally. This must change. Then, finally, as much as I hate to say it, explore alternatives. Stay informed about new developments. Talk to your doctor about older medications in case you do need to change. So there are older ones in the GLP-1 market that are a little less expensive, albeit a little less effective, but there are opportunities to shift if need be. Let's hope we don't. Tirzepatide has worked well for my wife and I, and we would prefer to stay on it. I currently have a prescription for both the branded Zepbound as well as the compounded, so I'm keeping all the options open. Whether Eli Lilly can keep up with surging demand over the next year is highly questionable. I can't see how they're going to do it. They're not building factories quick enough. And every day we get new research about how these drugs are impacting another comorbidity, whether it be sleep apnea or heart problems, you name it. There will be more demand for these drugs. There is no way they'll be able to keep up with it. The demand will outpace supply, and the market for GLP-1 drugs will continue to grow. I have no doubt about it. The FDA system, which allows and even encourages compounding pharmacies to produce duplicates during drug shortages, has been crucial in meeting our needs, and I don't see that going away. There will continue to be compounded versions of these drugs. The U.S. healthcare system has increasingly relied on compounding pharmacies to fill gaps in the supply of crucial drugs. There's no doubt about it. So what will happen next? Well, it's hard to say. However, the drug manufacturers' eagerness to protect their market share and grow their profits seems to outweigh any concern for those of us fighting the disease of obesity. I do believe that increased competition and government regulation, as well as increased scrutiny, will ultimately dramatically change the landscape of obesity treatment, creating more options and lower costs. until then, what will we do? Well, we'll fight the good fight. We'll do the best we can. We'll try and make sure we have our medication that we need to effectively combat this disease. Please stay tuned, because we're going to keep covering this on a daily, on a weekly basis. We're going to keep telling you about our adventure, our journey. As today, sometimes that adventure is more challenging than others, but that's okay. We're all in it together. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update from the Downsized. My name is Christopher Durham, and as always, I'm glad to be here with you, glad to be able to tell the news, and glad to be 75 pounds down. Until next time, see you later.